Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway. Mike Matthews here.
It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
Somewhere in podCastro Valley, the podCastro Valley is where we are, and
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in podCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Meritopka. It's episode 2899. Oh, we're almost at 2900 podcasts. How is that possible? People are listening to the show now. I think that's not what they're doing.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I just realized there is no word that rhymes with possible. There's impossible. There's
Mike's Daily
possible.
Podcast.
Tossable.
Yeah.
There we go. Tossable is a word that rhymes with impossible. Or tin tossable. Something. All right. Hey, welcome to Mike's Daily Podcast. So, I bring you interesting little news tidbits, whatnot, things to put into your brain and go, oh, that's fascinating stuff. One of the things I've never done is Burning Man. Now, bringing that up is always a bit hard to do because, well, we've had some tragedies already happen this year. Last year, there was the rain and people got stuck in the mud for weeks. But it actually began on Sunday, August 25th. It will end Monday, September 2nd. And it started at a San Francisco area. And all it had was 80 hippies in 1986. It's an escape from the confines of capitalistic society. It was at the beach there. And 70,000 attendees now. Went from 80 people to 70,000 attendees. And to get in, you got to pay $575 and more just to get in. Why am I shouting? That's a lot. The event did not sell out with discounted tickets still available.
And here's today's podcast picture.
There were still some discounted tickets available. Well, the podcast picture is not of Burning Man, but of a beautiful area kind of close to me near Alameda. My lovely lady friend and I were there. It's called Harbor Bay Isle or Bay Farm Island. And she and I were there walking around on this nice Saturday a couple weeks ago. So see that picture at mikesdailypodcast.com if you would like to know what yours truly looks like. If you don't, well then go to mikesdailypodcast.com for other reasons, like the podcast, or you could see what Café Anyway looks like, or see the late great Basil the Boxer, who went with me many times to Bay Farm Island. We had many a great walk there. Yes. And I now have a cat that doesn't walk. And my lovely lady friend and I have, he walks around the house and stuff and walks outside. But I tried to teach him how to walk on a leash and it did not work. Could not happen. Don't understand. I did everything. I followed everything. Got him when he was young. But my lovely lady friend is like, we didn't start. We didn't do it enough. No, the cat was scared. If I took him on the street, he'd freak out when the cars drove by. He'd be like, what's that? But back to Burning Man. The event did not sell out. It's lost money during the pandemic. In 2022, the organization had $4 million left over after expenses. The six-figure salaries of the nonprofit's executives include the folks like CEO Marion Goodell.
The word of dog.
And Basil says, wow, look, they made how much money? Yes, Marion Goodell earned $346,000. The organization employs about 160 people year-round. Additional hires include paramedics, cleanup staff. Also, you got to have local law enforcement. And it costs for them $3 million for a permit. At least $60 million gets fed into the local economy. But what's out there in that economy out there? Is there anybody? Cost of food, supplies, and travel adds up to at least $1,000 per person. Some burners fly in on private aircraft, and they set up their glamp sites. Whoa! Yes.
Mike's Amusement Park.
It is.
The front panel will close automatically. Please remain seated at all times.
It is a fascinating amusement park. It is of knowledge that we are learning here on the Mike Amusement Park. Famous burners include Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, other VIPs from the tech world for whom the event has become a schmooze fest. I, back about 20 years ago, worked with an engineer at the radio station, and he liked to go. And he was much older then. And he just loved all the little things that they would invent out there at Burning Man. ATM fees have hit a new high. Americans are spending about $4.77 to withdraw money from an out-of-network cash machine. That's a lot. The Subway $5 footlong is now $8 to $15. The $5 deal ended all the way back in 2014, 10 years ago. What were you doing 10 years ago? Were you eating a Subway sandwich? I think I actually was. For the last time. Going, I don't think this is healthy. I know there's the guy who later got caught on all kinds of bad charges. Not good charges at all. It's bad guy. What was his name? Jared? Well, he was all healthy. Look how much weight I lost. And look, I have the personality of a dirt clod. I don't have any personality is what I'm saying. So, hey, watch me riveting television on the TV promoting these $5 footlongs. And of course, his diet, he couldn't have any. I mean, it would be just like, okay, the bread. And he couldn't eat the bread. And he'd eat maybe some of the bell peppers and the spinach. And that's about it. None of the cheese, none of that crazy delicious sauce they have. Forget about taking out any of the meat. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in podCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Meritopia. So we were talking about the people up in space, the employees.
Anyway.
The Elon Musk-helmed rocket company, SpaceX, is attempting to send 4 people on the first private spacewalk mission. A billionaire retired fighter pilot, 2 SpaceX employees. Oh, they'll have done this by the time you hear that. What I just said. But the high cost of Ohtani, Los Angeles Dodgers fans knew the tab would come due for the team's $700 million splurge last year for Shohei Ohtani, the home run slugging pitcher they signed to a 10-year deal. $700 million is what it cost them. Café Anyway. And Americans...
Mike's Out of Left Field Recordings.
Recording everything captures actions that will never again be repeated.
Yes, this is a little out of left field, but healthcare premiums have spiked as medical costs have soared. Americans spend more on healthcare than people in any other major country. And Harris and Trump are campaigning on the issue. Employers' healthcare costs will jump by 9% this year, up from this year's 6% hike. Those are big jumps above average. That would push the cost per employee to more than $16,000. The employee will have to cover over $5,000 to $16,000 this year. Employees say that GLP-1s, Ozempic and Wegovy, are driving up the costs. That's the problem. And drug costs rose to 27% of companies' healthcare bills, up from 21% 2 years ago, up about 5% from then. Medical debt is leading...
And now we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
...is the leading driver of bankruptcy. Thank you very much. All that from Rob Black. I produce his podcast. He is heard on AM 1220 KDOW weekday mornings, Monday through Friday. And then he is on Cron TV Monday through Thursday on TV with fascinating stories like this. And this little bit of news from Bloomberg... The state-sponsored Chinese hacking company known as Volt Typhoon is exploiting a bug in a California-based startup to hack American and Indian internet companies, according to the researchers doing the security, or the security researchers. Volt Typhoon has breached 4 U.S. firms, including internet service providers, and another in India, through a vulnerability in a Versa Networks.
We have to win all the things! All the things! We are warriors!
All the things. All the things. All the dang things that get hacked. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Becky Pringle and Dwight from The Office. All the things. So, what Versa makes software that manages network configurations and has attracted investment from BlackRock and Sequoia Capital. They announced the bug recently, offered a patch and other mitigations. Their assessment found with moderate confidence that Volt Typhoon was behind the breaches of unpatched Versa systems and said exploitation was likely ongoing, according to a research firm, Lumen Technologies. It will add.
Mr. President, are you suggesting President Biden's using cocaine?
I don't know what he's using, but that was not. Hey, he was higher than a kite. And by the way, it was the worst address I've ever seen. State of the Nation. I'll tell you, State of the Union. That's not State of the Union because he doesn't represent us properly. That I can tell you.
What the heck was going on earlier this week with all of this? He wants the mute button. He doesn't want the mute button. Kamala wants the mute button, doesn't want the mute button because she wants him to say and get himself into trouble. What was that? That story ran on everything at least 300 times a minute. Just throwing random numbers out of my head at that moment. But yeah, a lot. So why was that happening? And is that in fact because, sorry, I bumped my head against the microphone with my frustration. Is that because of the legacy media that everyone's screaming about all the time on the right? Maybe they're right. But geez, I was like, enough. I get it. But back to this important thing, this fascinating project about the security of cyber.
The Fascinating Material Project.
Yes, the revelation will add to concerns over the susceptibility of U.S. critical infrastructure to cyber attacks. The U.S. this year accused Volt Typhoon of infiltrating networks that operate critical U.S. services, including some of the country's water facilities, the power grid and communication sectors. This is all to cause disruptions during a future crisis, such as an invasion of Taiwan. And Lumen shared its findings with Versa. So,
a fine article.
You silly, great, fat article.
That's a fine article. Versa is based in Santa Clara, not too far away from here in PodCastro Valley. It said it issued an emergency patch for the bug at the end of June, but only began flagging this issue widely to customers in July once it was notified that by someone that claimed to have been breached. The customer, which it didn't identify, didn't follow previously published guidelines on how to protect its systems via firewall rules and other measures. That's why you always have to do updates on your stuff. Always. Don't just let it sit there till one day I don't understand why this isn't working anymore. Well, and I found a way around that whole thing with YouTube not letting me block ads. So what you do is, this is exciting. All you got to do is sign out of Chrome, close everything down, and then sign back in. And make sure you got the ad blocker back on. Then they don't catch you. I think they give you a couple of times, couple of days, couple of weeks before they start having that thing pop up on YouTube. You're using an ad blocker. You're not going to see any videos now. And in another sort of social media world type thing, Donald Trump, Truth Social. You know, I actually tried to join Truth Social, and they wouldn't let me. I gave them my phone number, and they said, "Oh, we have a problem." So that's interesting. What did I do? But that's okay. I don't need to be on there. I'm on Rumble.
We love you, Mike.
I'm on Rumble. That's all right. I don't need to be on every right-wing social media platform. I was on Parler, but Parler's gone. I'm on Threads. Not that that's right-wing, but I'm on X, which I guess is right-wing now. The executives at former President Donald Trump's Truth Social venture are officially starting to cash out of its meme stock. Yeah, that should happen right around now when X has, let Trump back on, and Trump's got more followers on X anyway, and he's Xing every day. Trump's Media and Technology Group, or TMTG, SFO and Treasurer Juan Phillips has already sold a whopping $1.9 million worth of company shares. Then CEO Devin Nunes and COO Andrew Northall joined in, selling chunks of their holdings. Meanwhile, Trump is likely also getting ready to offload his 114 million TMTG shares.
Woo!
That's Trump Media and Technology Group. Roughly 60% of the company's outstanding stock as soon as next month. The 6-month lockup period determined by the SEC is set to expire as soon as September 20th, clearing the way for Trump to pull out. The sell-off, however, he could make up to $2 billion. But that's a fraction of what he could have gotten away with earlier this year had he had a little kombucha. But the price inevitably crashed. The sell-off, however, could prove devastating to investors who somehow still haven't jumped ship. Shares have been on a roller coaster ride, plummeting to record lows recently. If Trump were to sell, shares would likely continue their free fall. And Trump Media and Technology Group owns Truth Social. It ballooned to an all-time high back in March with a valuation of almost $8 billion. That from the folks at Futurism.com. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in PodCastro Valley. Look who's here. Oh my God, this is Chely Shoehart, the gift shop supervisor. I'm really sorry you bumped your head on the microphone. Yeah, it was so painful, and I'm still feeling a little dizzy and queasy. Mike Matthews, I want to introduce right now to everybody my new snow globe. That's also social media. It's called Chely Shoehart Snow Globe. Social media. I don't think that's a great name. But Mike Matthews, some of the most famous podcasts have really awful names. That's true. I've heard some bizarre, like, what? And, people start a TikTok channel with a dumb name or a YouTube channel, and it's just not the...
You will travel into the incredible universe.
What are names for when no one really cares anymore? Because we go into the incredible universe. Thank you for bringing those snow globes that are actually eggs. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. That's fascinating that engineer you used to know years ago would go to the Burning Man thing out in the desert. Yeah, and isn't this one of the hottest times of the year? Why do people do that? Go to the desert and endanger their lives with that? I'm not following that at all. But what I really have to say is time to cut corners.
The cutting corners corner.
The cutting corners corner. Hey, are you tired of spending all that money at the beauty shop, at the barber, at the hairstylist? Shave your head. You can see my shaved head at mikesdailypodcast.com. And if you'd like to call me and let me know what you think about anything we covered today, you can talk to this weird clown, right?
Hey, kids. It's me. Do-Re-Mi the Clown.
Magnification.
And call this phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228 4640.
And with all things Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame. Thank you so much for listening. The next podcast will be FF episode 2900. That's the proper way of saying that. Number set up.
Ginormous.
2,900. No, wait, 2,000. Yes, 2,900. That's what we'll say. Because we learned maths, not in England,
Magnification.
but here in America. And with more on all Mike's Daily Podcast things, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.